Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're going to do Who Was Better. The topic for this Who Was Better? Two absolute legends of wrestling, the eighth wonder of the world, Andre the Giant, and the Ultimate Warrior. Two guys that were kind of synonymous with WWF in the 1980s and early 90s for the Warrior. Two guys that have main evented WrestleManias. Two guys that have made it to the pinnacle of the business. And two guys that had a feud against each other, which one of the two hated. With that being said, if you haven't watched my videos before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. There's 8 different categories. Each one's rated in that scale, 1 to 5. At the end, we total up the points from each wrestler, and whoever has the most points win. There is a chance for bonus points at the end. When we get there, we'll talk about that. But let's jump right into that. We're going to start with our first category, technical wrestling. And for Andre, I'm giving Andre a 3. Now, a lot of people didn't see Andre at his best. They seen WrestleMania 3 and beyond. But prior to that, Andre was a good wrestler. I wouldn't say he was great. He wasn't on the level of a Funk or a Race or even a Bob Backlund for his generation. But he was serviceable. He was able to hold good matches. He was able to have quality, highly entertaining wrestling. That's why he gets a 3. Now for the Ultimate Warrior, he's going to get a 2. And the reason why he's a little bit below Andre is, other than a handful of matches, I don't think the guy even had a technical wrestling aspect to 99.9% of his matches. It's not what he's known for, and it's not what he's great at. That's why he gets a 2. Now going into our next category, we're going to talk about striking. For Andre's getting a 4. Andre had a believability because he was so massive that made his striking just stand out. He looked believable. He looked like someone that was going to murder you. That's why he gets such a high score here. That's why he gets a 4. The Warrior, I'm giving the Warrior a 4 too. If there's a part of the Warrior's in-ring talent that sticks out, it's his striking. And while it's a lot of clotheslines and shoulder tackles, they're all very high impact and they're all very believable. That's why, in my opinion, the Warrior gets a 4. Now our next category, how they perform as a heel. For Andre is getting a 5. There is something to be said about the heel turn that leads to WrestleMania 3, arguably one of the most important matches, one of the most important events in the history of professional wrestling, and that is all placed on the broken back of the Giant. The Giant turning heel on Hulk Hogan and leading to that colossal main event is really where the WWE was going like this, and they were getting there, and then let's see, they were here before WrestleMania 3. After WrestleMania 3, they were here. So for me, like I said, as a heel, Andre gets a 5. Now for the Warrior has very little time as a heel. Most of it would have been his Blade Runner run, and I'm just going to say it, he wasn't anything special at that time. They looked great. Him and Sting looked amazing, but they looked like a dozen other Road Warrior clones that were across the wrestling landscape at the time. I'm going to give the Ultimate Warrior a 3. Like I said, he doesn't have much here. It wasn't bad. It's kind of an incomplete in my opinion. Now next up, how they perform as a babyface. I'm giving both of these guys a 5. For their time, when they were babyfaces, these are two of the most popular wrestlers professional wrestling had in their generations. Whether it be Andre in the 70s and early 80s, whether it be Warrior in the 80s and early 90s. These are two of the guys that the fans gravitated to more than almost anyone in the wrestling world. There's a reason that even today, after both of these wrestlers have been passed away for a few years at least, and Andre going back almost 30, I think Warrior is coming up on 10, or actually it's probably been more than 10 now. There's a reason why their merchandise still sells. You still see Ultimate Warrior toys coming out. You still see Andre the Giant toys. You see t-shirts for them. These guys just connected with the fans, and the fans absolutely loved them. Again, for me, they're both easy 5s in this category. Now going to our next category, promos. For Andre is getting a 2. Andre connected with the fans a few wrestlers ever could, but none of that was due to his promos. I couldn't tell you one thing that Andre ever said in any promo. And I'm not knocking the guy. The guy obviously didn't speak English as a first language, and he was able to make an amazing career, one of the best careers in the history of pro wrestling. But for me, he just was subpar at promos. Now going over to the Ultimate Warrior. Warrior's a little bit better. I'm going to put him right at the Mendoza line. He gets a 3. Much like I said with Andre, he's unintelligible. His promos make not a lick of sense. If you transcript them and read it out, it's reading gibberish. However, there's an energy that to me brings him a bit over Andre. And then there's the fact that he creates words that don't exist, like destrosity and destructicity, and I don't even know what other words he really made because it's all ludicrous. Talk about riding rocket ships to space and whatever else. Like our good friend Rick James told us, cocaine is a hell of a drug. That's what his promos felt like. It felt like him and Rick James were somewhere in the back taking a bump before going on and doing a promo. Next up, we're going to go to presentation. This one's very easy. Both men are getting a 5. Again, much like I said with the merchandising just a bit ago, these are two wrestlers that you could show the general public. If you show them a picture of the Ultimate Warrior, you show them a picture of Andre the Giant, they know who they are. Their looks are iconic, whether it be the tassels and the face paint of the Ultimate Warrior, the afro, or even when he cut his hair down and wore the singlet of Andre, just the sheer size of Andre. Hell, the Obey Giant is Andre the Giant's face, so even if you're an art fan and you follow an artist like Shepard Fairley, you've seen Andre the Giant's face, even if you don't know it was Andre the Giant. Both of these guys were presented in such a way that made them absolute stars. Now go to our next category, charisma. This is another no-brainer. Both men are getting a 5 in this category as well. There's something that drew you to both of these wrestlers that not everybody has. Very, very few wrestlers have that charisma. Whether it be Savage, Hogan, Piper, these two guys, Ric Flair, The Rock, Dusty Rhodes. These guys are in rarefied air when you talk about charisma. They connected in such deep ways with their fans that they made super fans. Fans that are fans for their entire life. Fans that the sole reason that they watched wrestling was to see Andre the Giant or to see the Ultimate Warrior. People that every time Mattel puts out the Ultimate Warrior with a new color face paint, they have to buy that figure to put with their display with the 120 other figures they have of his. Same goes for Andre. Like I said, this is the upper echelon of the upper echelon. This is the elite of the elite. Two of the most charismatic wrestlers of all time. Now our last category, big game performance. How you handle your matches when you're in the main events of WrestleManias, house shows, pay-per-views, TV events, when you're the guy that's tasked with selling the card. How do you handle it? For Andre is getting a 4. Now again, this has a lot to do with WrestleMania 3 and beyond Andre, where, I'm going to be honest, his match quality is not good. It's subpar. But if you go just a year before and you look at him in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2, or 2 years earlier against Stud at WrestleMania 1, and other matches in that time frame he did well in as well, it's a total different beast. And if you go even further back into the 70s, it's a revelation watching Andre matches from the 70s. There's not as many out there as there is when he was more broken down. But Andre in the 70s was absolutely amazing. He was like a young Big Show. He was mobile, he was athletic, he was throwing drop kicks and crazy stuff like that. I'm giving him a 4 just because of that. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves for the great matches he had in his career, mostly because a lot of them are lost to time. Now the Ultimate Warrior's getting a 3. I will say out of these two men, the Ultimate Warrior has probably the 3 or 4 best matches between the two combined, those being his WrestleMania matches with both Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. I think were great matches. If I combine both these guys' careers, those are the two best matches out of all of them, and then you add in the Rick Rude cage match, which I would argue puts it at number 3 between the two. Take those matches out of the equation. Now we're talking Ultimate Warrior versus Triple H in a squash match. Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan in WCW. Or anything he did in WCW. And when you start breaking it down like that, he had some really bad matches. So for the great matches he had, unfortunately the bad outweigh it. And again, that's not his character. He didn't need to have great matches to have a great character. But like I said, he's right around average for that. Now let's go to our totals. For Andre the Giant, Andre is getting a 33. For the Ultimate Warrior, he gets a 30. But wait, there is a bonus. We talked about it a moment in the beginning. Every week, every Wednesday, I put a poll on my community tab, which I think is now called Posts, or they changed the name of it, but you'll see it. There'll be a tab on the homepage on the YouTube. You click on it, I believe it's called Posts, and there'll be a poll. And basically the poll asks, who do you think is better between the two? This is a chance for each wrestler to get 5 bonus points. Whoever wins the poll gets those. The winner of the poll this week, and the winner of everything, Andre the Giant, gets the 5 bonus points with almost 700 votes. I kind of expected that. Ultimate Warrior is a very polarizing character. Much like last week where I said Hogan had the same issues, where he was fighting from behind the 8 ball for public perception wise. I think Warrior has a lot of those same issues. A lot of the public kind of frowns upon him a bit, but I tried to be as objective as I could be here. I was never a Ultimate Warrior fan. I was definitely an Andre fan, but as objective as I can be, I can't say that the Warrior measures up. Andre the Giant, much like everything else in his life, he wins this by a long shot. Like I said, these are 2 very special wrestlers. 2 of the most iconic wrestlers in the history of the game. That's what made this so fun to do. That's why I enjoy doing these. If you made it here to the end, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you see where it says join, that's how you become a member. Becoming a member definitely helps me out. There's another thing I wanted to talk about. If you see the little tab that says shop, please click on that. This definitely helps me out. The other things help me as well. But if you click on shop, there's some tabs with different products. Right now I have 4 different product categories. I have professional wrestling stuff where you can buy shirts, figures, stuff of that nature. Music, some musical things I like, bands I think are cool. There's albums, books, t-shirts, stuff regarding that. Video games, games I find that are cool. There's games in there, accessories, toys that tie to that. And the last category, Philadelphia Eagles, just because I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Eagles products I think are cool. But if you go into any of those, you click on one of those links, you make a purchase, I get a commission. And that definitely helps me out. There's a lot of things I want to do with this channel. A lot of it involves money. The more money I can make, the more I can improve this channel for myself and for you guys. And there's some ideas I want to add in. There's some things I want to do that it's just going to take that extra money to get done. But I digress. With all that being said, thank you for watching my videos. My name is George Coles, and you've been watching Who Was Better.